Good evening to one and all present here. I, Richa Kaushik, on behalf of GDSC BBP, welcome you all and our speaker, Mr. Abhishek Pandey, for this session on Flutter. I thank you all for joining us here. Mr. Abhishek Pandey is a student and a full stack developer from Nepal. He has a full hand experience in Flutter, Django, Postgres. He has done almost 45 plus projects, in which 25 plus projects are in Flutter itself. He started programming career in 2017 and has deep knowledge of Android SDK and API as well. Moreover, he has knowledge of deep learning, machine learning, and data analysis. Now, without much ado, I would be welcoming Mr. Abhishek Pandey to start with the session. Sir, please.
So, good evening, everyone. I would like to thank everyone for joining in. I'm a second year student from Nepal. Am I audible right now?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
So, I will be talking about containers in Flutter today. So, let's first. Um, so, although a container might seem like a div in HTML, it's a lot more than that. Um, So let's first understand what a container is, then we'll dive deep into it. So a container in Flutter is a convenience widget. It is a box to store content, a basic container element that stores a widget, has margin, padding, border, and child. It takes size dynamically. Um, so Shall I share my screen?
Sir, your screen is not visible right now. So,
Okay, I'm sharing it.
yeah.
So is it visible now?
Yes, sir, it is now.
Um, so let's first look at the setup. I've imported match and vector class. We'll need it later. So this my app is just a stateless widget which calls a custom container. This custom container has a container which we will be learning about today. So at first, this nothing is visible. It's because a container by default has a transparent background, so we can change it. So we can set the color to let's make it red so that it's visible. So as we can see, it's visible right now, and by default, it takes the entire available width and height. Uh, So if we add a child element to it, it so if we add a child to it, it will just take the size of child. It'll take the size required to fit the child. So as we can see right here, um, it, it took the space required to fit this. So we can change it. We can define height and width. So this will be defined. This will always be fixed. So if we again want this to fit the available width, we can do this double dot infinity, and let's make this height double dot infinity, and we see this here, but there's a better way to do that. So this is a good time to talk about constraints. So box constraints dot expanded, this expands the whole container to take the available size, but we can change it. So we can set max width to 200 and max height, let's say it 200. Mm, so this is the width. So if we shrink this screen, it will still take this width. So let's see this in action. So if I shrink this, it will still take this, but the maximum cannot go beyond 500. So it has them. One of the most interesting one is box decoration. So let's do this. So this has a lot of properties. Um, so let's first play with the colors. One thing to note here, if a color is defined here, it cannot be defined here. So the Flutter is really good at this. It keeps an exception. This is colored slot red. We can even make a linear twin between them. Um, so let's define a gradient. There are like a few gradients, linear gradient, or circular gradient. So let's first see linear gradient. So linear gradient takes colors. So let's set this. Let's make it red, green, and blue. And there we have a gradient. So there's more to this. We can customize this however we want. So let's begin. So let's begin this at top left and end this at bottom right. So as we can see, this the gradient changes. Um, we can even define stops. So the stop has to be of same length as this colors array. Let's first write it and we'll see what's going on. So this 0.1, this first value, it's for this red. It's for this red color. So it goes to this. So if we change it, let's make it 0.4. It's red. It goes till 0.4. We can even transform this. So let's see what this takes. This takes a gradient transform. This transform this gradient. So another property. So we can even align this child here. So this is alignment. Um, let's take this child to center, and this is how we do it in Flutter. There, there are a lot of properties. So let's see padding in action. So to make the effect visible, I'll set a size, and we will have to get rid of constraint so that we can see this. So at first, let's see padding in action. So padding takes edging set. The padding separates the container from rest of the elements, or not the child element itself, but the elements that might be here. We set this to 50. Let's reduce this. Margin is we'll see this pairing after adding margin. So margin is the distance between the child element and the container itself. So here the text hello world and the container. So let's add a pairing of 50. I miss I misstold this. Um, so margin separates the container um, from rest of the widgets that we might have here. Uh, to see this, let's move alignment and uh, pairing. Pairing separates the child from the container. So this hello world from container. So if we set this to like 20, as we can see, this goes 20 from x-axis and 20 from y-axis. So there are a lot of properties. Let's see alignment, in constraints, color. Mm, let's first let's see transform. So this matrix is just a 2D array. So we can modify this. We can we can modify this however we want. So all the operations of a 2D array is valid here. So this takes a matrix. Let's first see the skew property. So I'll skew this by 1 and this by 0.3 alpha and beta channels. And as we can see, the whole container transformed. This is how easy it is in Flutter. So for demo purposes, let's use an identity matrix. So this has a lot of properties. We can scale this up, so we can reduce the size by half. We can even double the size and rotate this in x-axis and y-axis, even in z-axis. So let's see this. So as we all know, basic maths, I is 180 degree, which is this, and this value is from the Dart maths class that we have. So if we rotate this by 180 degree, we see nothing. So let's rotate this by maybe 60 degree, and this rotated by 60 degrees. Um, it's rotated by 30 degrees. So we can rotate this in even in x-axis. So this does not take a regular integer. And this takes we use this angle to rotate them. Rotate this in y-axis by 60 degree, and we have this output. Okay. So to understand this rotation better, so by the way, this two dots I'm using, this is a feature of Dart, that instead of returning void, it returns the class itself. So it returns a matrix 4 instead of void. So to understand this better, let's make a linear tween. So let's wrap this, and let's wrap this in a tween builder. takes a builder with three arguments. Then this takes a tween. Let's start this at 0 and end at 180 degrees. This is not degree, we will be converting that later. So these are named arguments. So it begins at 0 and ends at 180. And this takes a duration. Set this to 2 seconds. Remove this to get rid of the error. And we have access to this value right here. So let's convert this what we get right here into degrees. So I'll make an extension function for that. So we can name this anything, int extension on num. So we will add a function that takes the integer and return whatever angle it is. So let's make it so this should return a double. Let's name it this. So some basic maths. We all know pi is 180 degree. So this is same as writing 180 degrees pi. So 1 degree will be pi by 180 and n degrees 1 into n degrees we will be this times n, right? So we can use this. So we can use this right here. So return pi by 180 times this. um so here this is just a number that we feed into it. So let's use it here. uh, so this value keeps changing to decrease, and as we see this whole thing revolves. um so let's not scale this. And so let's shift this. And even shift this. So there's a property called left translate that pushes this widget to the left. So let's translate it by 100. So we have another error. um I'll first remove this to show what this does. So at first this was here, now this is here. So if we rotate this now, it rotates this transforms or rotates from center from 0 to 180 degrees. So we sometimes might not want that behavior. We have transform alignment for that. So let's make this transform axis. Top left, this is what there is by default. So let's make this center. And as we can see, this is rotating from center. So that it flips, let's make this 0 to 360, and this rotates from center to right. That was pretty much it for transformations. Let's now see other. So foreground decoration takes foreground decoration takes a box decoration, and this is what will be applied to the foreground. So even so after this hello world thing is printed, the hello world thing is painted, this will start. So let's define a gradient. We saw linear gradient already, so let's now see something else. uh, what do we have? So we have I think we have a circular gradient or something. Linear, yeah, we have a radial gradient. This takes colors. Let's define colors dot black dot white, and as we can see, this thing changed. So let's make one of them transparent, and there's a black gradient approaching from center. After that, this is transparent. So let's make this constant. And define the same things. We can define the same things, almost the same things. So we can even change focal radius. So let's make this 10 and see what happens. Let's make this 5. As you can see, this changed the focal radius, shrink the bit. So we have other properties like where should the center of this begin. So you can change that as well in Flutter. So let's begin from top right, and this begin from top right as we specified. So the rest of the things in linear versus this radial gradient, they are the same. So let's discover other properties. We can make this rounded. So let's do that. Takes up border radius. Let's make this circular, and okay, this is not a constant, so we cannot do this. So I'll remove this tween for now. So we can change this border radius, but it is not applying. It's because it's in foreground. If we add this to background, which is this, and not make this constant, there's a border radius here. As we can see, there's a border radius here. So this radius is customizable as well. So let's see, and we can do the same. We can only add a border radius in top left. As we can see, only the top left part has a rounded border. So that was it. We can There's one more property in this here. So there's a really interesting property named blend mode. So this takes a blend mode, and this is how the colors blend to the background. So this is hard light. There are a lot of properties to play with. So let's discover some of them. So you just apply this circle right here because um, we have set a foreground decoration and this does not apply to foreground decoration. So let's see this again. There's nothing. So this is how the background blends. What else do we have to discover? So this behavior is how it create. So this clip behavior, we can see this talks. Uh, it's clearly explained here. So a clip is to be applied. Uh, I think you can read this on yourself. So this returns a clip path, and what it does is that it clips. Um, it clips if it has it. For example, if this has another a background, this container is wrapped within another widget. Um, this clip behavior controls how this clip behavior controls it controls how the background and the foreground it is stitched. So how the parent or the child is stitched. So this was it. I think we have discovered of them. So any questions? Do you guys have any questions? No questions?
So, thank
So
you, sir, for such an enlightening and a knowledgeable session. We all are very grateful to you, and certainly your experience and insights on the Flutter helped us a lot. Now, the audience can ask their question if it is. Any question?
So if there is no questions, can I leave?
It seems there is no question. So, thank you, sir, for joining us and sharing your knowledge and experience with our audience. Now, I would like to wrap up this session. Thank you.